All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's Wednesday Wise webinar. My name is Sydney Konahia with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 60 minutes lined up for you today. Before we get started, I just wanted to touch on two things really quickly. Today's webinar will be recorded, and a link to the recording and the slide deck will be emailed out to all registrants. And if you do have any questions for today's speakers, please feel free to add those to the chat or questions box, and they will get to them at a certain point in the webinar. Today's topic is the franchise C-suite blueprint, actionable location data, predictable profits, scalable growth, and it's brought to us by QVenture Software. Here to provide today's discussion are Brad Adams, Charles Nagel, and Mac Laskowski. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you again to QVenture Software for sponsoring today's Wednesday Wise webinar. I will now turn things over to you guys to get us started.
Thank you very much, Sydney, and welcome everyone. We have a packed house today, so let's go ahead and move right into it. And welcome today to this great webinar presented by QVenture and American Swimming Pool Franchising. And it's all about how, for us to talk about how these elite franchises like American Swimming Pools are implementing a proven, scalable playbook that turns fragmented location data into near real-time insights and predictable profits. Okay, today we're going to talk about the gold standard of a franchise financial performance success model, and we're going to ask Charles Nagel, the founder of QVenture, and Mac to talk about the bits and pieces of what makes that up. So welcome today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guests today, Mac Laskowski, Vice President of Operations of American Swimming Pool Franchising. Mac, if you'd like to say hello and give a little background of you and your company, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. First, Brad, Sydney, Charles, thank you guys for today. Really looking forward to spending the next hour with all of you going through some really great material. Mac Laskowski, Vice President of Operations here at ASP, American Swim Pool Company. We were founded back in 2002 by a man named Stuart Vernon. And since then, we have grown to about 150 franchise locations throughout the country. And back in 2018, we joined the Authority Brands family, which has 15 brands within their portfolio. And have been fortunate to partner with some great franchise owners and grow and have companies like QVenture help us along the way.
Thank you, Mac. I appreciate it. Charles, talk about a little bit about your background and introduction.
Sure. So serial entrepreneur, a lot of inventions. Most people have seen them. You don't know it. And got involved in turnaround consulting, went into businesses. Saw the same things over and over again. This is 2005, 2006. Came home, wrote some code and said, you know, what small businesses need are the capabilities that large businesses might have. And so QVenture was born in 2007 to solve the problem, which is I got a business and I got franchises, I got a lot of locations, and I need to easily report on all of them so I can make informed decisions.
Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate that. You know, today we're going to talk about 7 distinct things. We call them learning objections or the blueprint. And it really is going to how we unlock executive strategies, how to deploy this at scale, how to drive scalable profits and growth of your franchise owners, how to capitalize on franchise analytics, enforce brand compliance and standards, build a scalable playbook, and scale like the top performers. And Mac is here to tell us a little bit about how they've done that. So we're going to take this today, this webinar, and try to define each one of these 7 items before the hour's up. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to talk about is why is this so critically important? Okay, and we're going to go over a few items. The 3 pillars of franchise financial performance, the operational problem, the traditional financial problem, and the push-pull. And we're going to ask Mac to comment on all 3 of these. So let's start out with the the three pillars. You know, we did a market study a while back, Mac, and we asked about 500 franchisors. What are the three pillars of a successful franchise financial performance management solution? And we came up with three. Okay, franchise financial insights and data consolidation. And what I mean by that is location data, franchise owner performance coaching, and brand compliance and expansion. Okay. And you know, Mac, I'd like to ask you, give our audience your take on the three pillars and what they mean to your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really agree with all these three. You know, looking at the first, financial insight and the ability to consolidate that data. When you think about, to Charles's opening point, how QVinci was founded, how it came about is, um, franchising is a beautiful industry because you have so many smart entrepreneurs come into the space who work very hard and who are very passionate about doing very well. But one of the common themes is what do I do with all these different data metrics or the raw data, and how do I bring that into a place that I can use it to make decisions to help grow my business, that can help me become more profitable in my business, whatever your goals are. So I think to have financial insight is very empowering for franchise owners, and it's empowering for franchisors to help their franchise owners. Of course, brand compliance is a massive part. You know, franchising at its core, we all are one, right? Even though you might have your individual franchised locations, multiple franchises within your own portfolio, but we all are one. And so to have the ability to come together to look at all the different data points and things in this cohesive space, if you will, is very, very powerful. But frankly, Brad, from my seat, I would say the third pillar, the coaching, is number one to driving profitability, right? And in my eyes, when you see a franchise owner, when you see an entrepreneur become profitable, hit that point, then they start looking at scale, they start looking at growth, they start looking at expanding, and it really does play in very nicely. So I think all of them, individually speaking, are incredibly important, and then collectively, wildly important.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's talk. Oh, sorry about that. My hand moved a little quick. You know, at Cavinci, we call it an operational problem that we have to solve. Okay. And it's basically all these different forms of QuickBooks, accounting software, franchisees, private equity, business coaches, locations from 1 to 10,000, hosted solutions. And talk about how it is so important for a franchisor to get a handle on this and bring all this data into one source where you can really manage it and use it effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the tough part. Or let me back up one step. If you go sit down and just have an honest conversation with a franchise owner or any entrepreneur, and you say, hey, you know, kind of what are maybe some struggles you're having, 8, 9 out of 10 are going to say managing all these different things, right? Taking all the different things that are thrown at me. And it does when you cannot respond to those the correct way and the right amount of time, the way you want to, it does cause an operational problem. It slows down efficiency. And we know the more efficient that a business is, typically the more profitable the business is. And so not only does QVinci help this, but I think in business ownership within the franchising space at large, whenever a brand or a business can find a way to take multiple things that are coming at them and consolidate it into one playing field, one table, whatever you would like to call it, that franchise owner, that owner operator, that whomever can truly sit down, give the ample amount of time to look at data, to look at scenarios, to look at problems, to look at opportunities, and respond correctly. And from that, growth, etc., comes out of that. But it certainly is an operational problem.
Great, great. All right. Well, listen, let's talk also about we call it the traditional financials problem. And I'm not going to read everything. You boil it down into franchisees are not, they're small business owners. They're not finance guys. Okay. And why is it so important to solve this problem, and how you've handled this problem with your franchise owners before and after Covinci?
Yeah, so this is a great way to open up this webinar, Brad. The second bullet point is about as good as it can get. Green is good, and red is bad or heading towards bad, and we need to talk. So I'm actually going to answer that question, kind of answer your second question first.
Certainly.
Go to the first question.
Certainly.
Here at ASP, prior to Covinci, there was a season, if you will, where a lot of the data that we would ask our franchise owners to send us, the franchisor, to send their franchise business coach, or the data we, the franchisor, would put together to bring to the franchisee, it took a lot of time. Okay, back to the operational problem as well. Not only is it a lot of things are coming at you, the time it goes in with each of those. So before we were spending, there is no telling how much time putting data in Excels, running charts and graphs, and trying to do different functions and formula within Excel. And who only knows how much time was actually spent getting to the point where we could have the conversation. So then when we partnered with Covinci, we got our franchise owners on Covinci, we got all of our data connected. What it allowed for us, not only did we get to see standard data and standard reports and all that came from it, but it allowed us to look at our data through a different optic and see different ways to review the data. Since then, with Covinci, we've actually had some custom reports made for us, and that's allowed us to really look at the data differently. So once we got to that point, we started having great conversations with franchise owners. You go pull up your scorecard, I'll look at your scorecard on this side. Green is good, red is, we have operational areas or operational improvements, opportunities. And when you get to truly understand time is money, okay, and you can cut down on time and just have the data, let technology pull this data together, put this data in nice scorecards in a better format, franchisors are able to go do what they really want to do, which is to coach and work with franchisees versus spending 1, 2, 3 hours putting data together. I can go spend 1, 2, or 3 hours with a group of franchise owners and say, you're doing really well here. You have areas to improve there. And that is where you can see a big difference within the local franchise location and within the brand at large.
Well, thank you much. That's a great segue into this next topic, which is, we call it at Covinci the push-pull dynamic, which is really tools that motivates or pushes franchise owners to talk to the business coaches, and tools to motivate business coaches to contact franchise owners and pull them. And at the end of the day, how important is it to create that collaborative arrangement?
Oh, I would say it is mission critical within the franchising space. The franchising space truly is, it's a relationship business, meaning that when we all work together, we're better. And actually here at ASP, this was an old equation from our founder many years ago. But he said, this is the baseline equation for franchising. 1 + 1 = 3. And what that is getting at is your one and our one together, we come out much better than had we gone at this alone. And that, I have always loved that since day one, starting here at ASP and being in the franchising industry, because I think it was true then, it is true now, and it will forever be true. The franchise owner can push, or they can be the pull, and the franchisor can be, the vice versa. But when you truly get to that place, franchise owners are doing their part, franchisors are doing their part, you really see the power, the strength, and the beauty of franchising, and you get to see the benefits that come out of that. Growing franchise owners, growing brands, and then it just continues to go from there.
Well, thank you very much. as a great discussion on the why and how, we talked about the operational problems, we talked about the financial problems, we talked about the push pull. Let's go with the first polling question, Sydney, and then we're going to go in and get into some of the meat of the tools that we use once we get the data that we just talked about. Polling question number one is, what's the biggest challenge preventing consistent system-wide performance improvement in your franchise? Okay, lack of real-time standardized location data, inconsistent coaching, limited visibility, franchise resistance, which is something we all try to wrestle with, and I'm not sure, but I would like to learn more. And I thought a great first polling question for us is to deal with what is the challenge here. Okay, so we can solve those in the next part of this presentation. So Sydney, I think we're good. I think we should wrap that up. Thank you guys for saying it. Looks like most of it is limited visibility and franchisor resistance is the two big winners here. So some of these tools we're talking about it really comes into play. So let's go ahead and shut that down, and let's go into, now we're going to talk about the critical parts of a great franchise franchise performance management solution. Okay, and we're going to talk about these 8 items here. Okay, which is near real-time homogeneous data, role-based insights, benchmarking, ranking, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, ease of use and automation, compliance, training and support, and scalability. So let's talk about the first one, the near real-time homogeneous franchise location data. Charles is going to take over the screen here in a second, and he's going to talk about why this matters and what are the key capabilities. So Charles, why don't you go ahead and take over the screen?
Hey, you guys have my screen on?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of the landing place where, if you're a franchisor, franchisees also, you come to convince you, we call it the portal. And as a franchise, you'll layer your users in. And so as maybe a higher level, a leader in the entire franchise, I see all the locations. If I owned Morristown Cafe, if I were a franchisee and I logged into this, I would only see the units that I have a title to. So you'll layer your users. And so what this does is, red is good, green is good, red is bad. And so you're looking for red. And so in this case, what we're going to do is we're automatically pulling the data from all these locations, QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, Xero, Excel, that kind of thing, pulling the data into a centralized portal so you can get a landscape view of them all. And we care about who's performing and who isn't performing at this point. So this is your starting point. You're going to select month over month. Right now we're looking at month over month. Kimichi's automatically rolling up the month over month movement for every location for these categories that were rolled up for you. If you want to look at it year over year, you can, 3 months over 3 months, same period last year, that kind of thing. So as an example, this is your starting point. And remember, we talked about those financials being like mostly useless. We want to start it with a generic indicator and then move down, drilling down underneath. And all these cells are hot. So as an example, Morristown Cafe, COGS is red. It's 39% worse than it was the prior month, month over month. But sales are only up 20%. I wonder what that is. Well, I just double click the cell here and it's going to say, okay, here it is. The last month it was $21,000 and this month is $29,000. And you go, well, why is that? And so you click, I'd like to know more now. So you go from a generic to specific. Let's see, let me go over here and click this guy. You go from generic to specific. Well, I don't understand why my drill is not working here. You can drill down to the underlying, data. It's going to tell you what makes the thing up. It's going to tell you where it came from. You're going to be able to drill down all the way down to the GL if you're running GL. So you'll see the transactions when you're moving through this system and you're drilling down into these red components over here. If you were to drill, certain kinds of things over here. And I need to reload my browser. My browser's gotten locked up, but you would be able to drill down to underlying data. So the portal is going to give you a landscape view of all these entities, right? And it's going to show you where they stand, and you'll go find out. You'll drill down and find out what makes those numbers up, Brad?
Thank you very much. Mac, why don't you weigh in here and talk about the practical application of having access to the timely, reliable franchise location data and how this has been a game changer at ASP franchising.
Yeah, absolutely. So the ability, Brad, the ability to be able to see data real time when you want to see it and standardized throughout the system is incredibly beneficial because think about it. We can start thinking, well, what are we, as Charles was saying there, we can start looking at trend analysis. Okay. The other thing you can start looking at, and this is where I think it's great when you look at your entire ecosystem, even at its simplest, it's at step one, which was the dashboard Charles showed right there. We can look at neighboring territories. For example, here at ASP, as it relates to QVinci, we have several filters: year opened, region, other things. So we're able to look at real-time standardized data, and I can say, I want to look at the Southeast. I want to look at the Northeast. I want to look at a 5-year-old franchise, a 3-year-old franchise. We can see how they're performing. We can connect peer franchise owners with other owners. Franchise in our system, several of our franchise owners are able to log in. They love it because green is good, red is bad. They know it's standardized. It's against company KPIs. They can see also in their scorecard, wait a second, why is this one metric, maybe it's profitability in one of our departments, trending against company average? I need to figure this out. I need to have a call with my franchise business coach. Or from the franchisor side, the franchise business coach can log in and say, wait a second, why is this ASP in this area struggling with this one particular metric? Let's get on a phone call. What Charles is doing right here, the saying is, let's drill in on this, right? Let's really peel back the onion and figure out what's causing this. And the same for the green. Again, you're able to see good, what's going well. And just to have that ability is very helpful because again, Brad, it really does go back to time. Time is money, right? So if we're able to just log in and see the data and spend our time on reviewing the data and taking that to make better decisions to improve the operations, that's a win for everybody on that phone call.
Thank you very much. And Charles, why don't we move on a little bit and talk about some role-based actionable insights? And in those, we're going to talk about performance dashboards and KPI ratios. Talk about how a franchise may use this. And Mac, I'll bring you in right after Charles introduces these.
Okay, so and when a user logs in, if I'm a franchisee, I'm going to see the units that I belong to. And one of the powerful things is this is an example of a dashboard. If I own 5 units, I can see this across all 5 units consolidated automatically. And so what we do is we take all the underlying data and we roll up into things that are decision-making tools. These categories, in this particular case, and QVinci has over 200 some odd ready-to-use templates. It's just an example. We've chosen these categories to look at, and you can change them. If you don't want long-term liabilities, let me zoom this down. If you didn't want long-term liabilities, you may want to say, look, well, I want to look at wine sales. And so we show you the actual data for August of 24. And if you want to change the periods, you can go back a month. You can go back and look at May. This is your annual trend line. How the last 12 months, how is this trending? And so, and of course, red is going to be really bad for net or income and income. So red's bad, green's good. And we show you this, again, relative kind of thing. Again, month over month, this, May versus the prior month, income's trending well. It's green, up with 3.1%. COGS is going the wrong direction. It's actually 17% unfavorable. So you get a lot of interpretive data in a performance dashboard like this. And you look at monthly, 3 months, fiscal year over year. And again, you can look at 1 unit, you can look at 200 units. QVinci will automatically roll these up for you into this presentation layer. Brad?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Mac, why don't you talk a little bit about how you and ASP Franchising have used this tool to help your franchise and these role-based actionable insights?
Yeah, absolutely. Charles answered it very well or showed that very well. So I'll kind of echo what Charles said and talk about specifically how we've used it. This report has come and handy, again, at ASP, we're very big on looking at the data based on the filters we're running. Maybe that region, something's happening in that region that we need to try to go have some conversations about. Maybe something at a certain amount of years in business, you might see a new trend pop up. Let's look into that. Also, income class, right? I think as you see in any different type of business model, what should it look like in this income class, this gross revenue bucket, that gross revenue bucket, et cetera, et cetera. We also specifically, total COGS, Brad, that comes to mind for us at ASP, right? You know, we're in the swimming pool business, okay? Trying to look at month over month. Is COGS proportional to revenue, up or down? Either way. This scenario is great. If I logged in and I saw total income was favorable, great, but total COGS is not, right? Again, looking at that, I can go log in. We do monthly phone calls with all of our franchise owners. Our franchise business coach do monthly touch base calls with our locations. And so I'm getting ready. Let's say I'm getting ready to have some phone calls in the next couple of days. I go in, I look at some of these reports for some of the locations that I coach. I can already have some nuggets to email them. Hey, looking forward to the call in 2 days. I really want to drill in what's going on with the cost of goods sold. Okay. Something's not looking correct here. You know, go ahead and be prepared for that. That allows the franchise owner to A, prepare for the call, which is going to make it that much more fruitful. B, that franchise owner might not even be aware it's going on if they're not necessarily paying attention to the data. Franchisor steps in, highlights it. They might be able to go in and figure out what's happening. Again, that's where I think QVinci, that's where data is so strong, because a lot of times questions go unanswered when you're looking at a business. But whenever we can get an answer, we can then do something. We can find the solution, or we can say we need to go this direction. And so this is another prime example of how you would use that report for a monthly financial review call.
Yeah, it ties back to what you said earlier, or what we said earlier was green is good, red we got to talk.
We got to talk.
You know, and let you, you know, think about having a Zoom meeting with your franchisee and the business coach, and having all this data at your fingertips is transformational. So,
Absolutely.
Charles, why don't we move to the benchmarking and ranking? In the interest of time, and I'd like you to start with open your benchmarking and ranking. Talk about why this matters so much, some of the key capabilities of the benchmarking and ranking report, and then Mac, I'm gonna pull you in and talk about how you used it. Charles?
Probably one of the most valuable tools on the planet if you're a multi-unit owner, operator, franchise. We take all the data from all the locations, and these names will be whatever you've called your units in the field. We bring it all together on these categories. We give you and you can look at it for the year, the month, or the last 3 months. You'll pick the periods that you want. We're going to give you the top 10% performers, what those numbers are, the top 20%, and the average of the ecosystem. So we got benchmarking going. Not only do we have all the units on top of each other in a sortable column, a sortable table, but you see how the rest of the ecosystem is. And guess what? In this particular case, I have changed this thing so that show me yellow. Yellow means show me everything that is worse than the average. So I can take like Matt said, I could take COGS, I can sort this from largest to smallest. Here's all the yellows. The average is 38.2%, and here's all my units, and these are all the guys that are not doing that well on COGS. They're worse than the average of the ecosystem. So you have these categories. Now, what's cool about QVinci is, you come over here to the right, we give you 3 custom categories. See here, I chose hot beverages, waste, and local marketing. So as a franchisor or franchisee, I can change these categories to be what I want to see. It's unique to that franchise. It's better, not just total COGS and total income and that kind of thing. Here are the movers. These are the levers that move our needle, right? And I want to know if people are spending correctly on marketing. I want to know what their waste and beverages look like. And it's the same kind of thing. I can sort these in margin, in descending, ascending order, sort from the largest to the smallest. And here you go. Hot beverages, 4, location 23 is 42.2%. I think we have a winner. This is a problem. So it's going to give what you have is the ability to get a landscape view of relative data by entity. Now, a franchisee would only see the units that they belong to. Franchisor, the coach, is going to see all the units that belong to them. So in this one view, this one report, this is why I said it's one of the most important things that we've done. In this one report, I can identify the winners and the losers and how they're doing compared to peers. Brad?
Thank you very much. Mac, why don't you talk a little bit about how ASP franchising has used this ranking and benchmarking report to promote performance and with the franchise owners?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons that I've heard over the years, why there's many reasons to buy a franchise, to get in the franchising space as an entrepreneur. One of those reasons is to join an ecosystem, to join a group, and to have peers, to be on a team. And so this is where we have really used this report from our seat. Is I'm on a phone call with a franchise owner, and let's say I've identified, hey, we'll stick on the COGS thing. Your cost of goods sold, you're spending more in COGS than you should be. Let's review this and let's have some action items come out of it. But the franchise owner might say, hey, Mac, do you know of anybody in the ecosystem that's around my revenue class, that's maybe around my region, maybe around total number of years of business, that is doing this one thing well that I'm not doing well? I can log in right here and I can look at that and I can say, yes, this location right here is doing well. And we've actually had several, call it accountability buddies, call it peer groups. A lot of our franchise owners have since, by way of this, saying, well, your neighbor down the road, maybe give them a call, right? Or maybe we try to connect you guys and y'all have a conversation as well as we continue on the conversation. I think that's where this report is powerful, because I do think it plays hand in hand with one of the big strengths of franchising, is that you have peers to bounce ideas off of, and you can kind of speak with them on that as well. And also it allows us to see who's doing something very well, and maybe we talk to them, and you never know what you'll learn by just having those types of conversations.
Well, thank you, Mac. I appreciate it. To put a finishing point on this is you don't have to build this report every time you need it. The data in Cavinci is done at night in the background, and you just open the report and the data is hydrated, which is so important for small to medium businesses who can't afford to hire a number of accountants to build all this stuff, every time. So, all right. Well, listen. Let's go to polling question number 2, Sydney. How confident are you in your ability to benchmark and rank franchisee location performance? Very confident, somewhat not somewhat confident, not confident, or we don't effectively do benchmark performance, but would like to learn more. Interesting questions. The good news is it looks like only 4% is not benchmarking at all, and most of it is very confident to somewhat confident. So if you can interpret that data, then we have the tool for you to use at your fingertips. So, all right. Well, listen. Let's wrap this area up. We're a little bit behind, but we'll catch up. Thank you, Charles and Mac. Great discussion on the near real-time homogeneous data location, the role-based insights, and the ranking and benchmarking. Now we're going to move to the second part of this webinar, which is the predictive and prescriptive analytics. And Charles is going to again talk about the why it matters and what are the capabilities. And we're going to focus on the what if break-even analysis. So Charles, why don't you take it away and talk a little bit about why this tool is so important.
Okay, everybody wants to know their break-even point. We've taken it a step further. We let you forecast and predict what you should be doing against a new break-even point you might establish. This report will automatically pull out all your data. It'll put your COGS over here, and you can actually put it also does your non-controllable costs, and you can actually say, well, I've got a non-controllable cost here, but I'm gonna put that over here as a variable cost as well. And so it builds a break-even point for you. In this particular case, we do $2.9 million worth of revenue, and our break-even point is 2.365. This is history. This is truth. Fiscal year, month over month, the same kind of thing. You'll select the periods that you want, you know. So this is you. And what we do is we make a copy of that over here and we let you play the game. So if cost of goods for material B is 15%, you know, I think I can do 13.5%. And I think that I can, you know, I'm going to buy a little bit better over here, and I'm going to have this cost as friend service fee is 6.7%. You know what? I think I can do that for 5.6. I'm going to let go of one guy, and I start making these changes over here. I am going to control my costs, my variable costs, and my fixed costs. Same thing. You gotta, you know, if you're gonna shut something down or turn something off, you can do the same thing down here with your fixed costs. And you got a new break-even point. Your new break-even point now with just these two changes is $2.2 million. So manage to that. We have just now decided, we've just now defined for you, have just now defined for yourself what are the two knobs you need to turn and how much and what you need to monitor. Not all of this, not everything. Every month over month, I care about that and I care about that. The rest of the stuff is what I'm doing automatically. So I want to manage these two pieces, Brad.
Thank you very much, Charles. Mac, why don't you talk about how you use the break-even analysis and tell us a little bit about how you think it could be used for other franchises in
Yeah,
your.
absolutely. So we have not used this report as much as others, but why this report is so important, or this exercise is so important, is every franchise owner and every entrepreneur, specifically those who are new to a system and just launching and are burning through a lot of cash as they get their business started, want to know, what is my break-even point? What level of revenue do I have to get to be able to take that bottom line from red to black, to be able to get to that spot where now the business is supporting itself? So while we have not used this report as much as the other reports, this exercise in of itself is very important for all franchisors to be doing with all their franchisees, but specifically post launch of a new franchise, you know, keeping in close contact with those new owners. And hey, are you aware of your numbers? Let's keep an eye on all your revenue, how your costs are trending. Charles said it best. Let's control those costs where we can, so that way we can get that break even where we need to get it. So very, very, very important exercise.
Well, thank you. It's not only a break even, but it's a what if, and that's
What if? Yeah.
so important. Charles, why don't you go over briefly the what if cash flow tool, which is kind of the same principle. It gets you your cash flow and says, what would your cash flow be if what if you did this, and we'll kind of briefly go over this and then we'll move on.
This one is a very detailed, I invented this one during COVID, and we had 1,000 people show up for a webinar. We had people tell us this probably saved their business. It's a similar thing to the what if the break-even tool we just set, but it's in more detail. You'll select you want seasonal range or single range or seasonal. What month do you want to have your first what if month be, and what do you want your reference month to be? In this case, I've chosen February 25 to be my reference month and March 25 to be my first what if month. And this is my running cash balance. And here's the full P&L laid out here. And so what we do is we put the actuals in here. As you move through the year, we're going to, and I haven't run this in a couple of months, we're going to automatically put the actuals in here for you. Now, the what if is based on what your reference month is. And if you think you can control costs or improve things, you'll change it. That's what these things are read for. So in this case, down here's an example. My contract labor was $4,050. My reference month is 2,700. I'm going to dial the contractor back to 25%. So I put 25% and 25%. I'm changing every line of every month on my what if, and I want to see how I did compared to, so look, in May, I made a few changes. I managed to that. And you can see that I lost $7,900 versus, I lost $24,000 and I should have lost $7,900 if I'd have managed to these numbers. Okay, if the staff wages had been managed to 80% of what I historically had been doing. So what this allows you to do is to come in and put a detailed roadmap together and manage to it. You see what you actually done, what you said you wanted to do, and whether you hit it or you didn't hit it. And what this allows you to do, It takes you about 45 minutes to set it up, to put some numbers in and get a shake at it. But it was going to allow you to monitor your path, which is a whole lot better than budgeting, because budgeting, you set it at the beginning of the year. How did I do? How did I do? Well, this is more dynamic. So this is really a dynamic forecasting tool. What if versus forecasting actual tool, Brad?
Well, thank you very much, Charles. And as you can see,
We have lost your transmission.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, got you now.
Yep, can
Okay,
hear you
sorry
now.
about- Okay, sorry about that. Let's move on to the next section, which is ease of use and automation. Okay, and Charles, I'm gonna ask you now to talk about why that matters and some of the capabilities, and we go over the KPI scorecard, and then we'll bring Mac in.
So look, there's a big pile of numbers out there in everybody's QuickBooks file, right? And finding out what you need to focus on is the problem. I'm going to make a mention here. Every report in KeyVinci is free. You can run anything you're looking at as much as you want, as often as you want, across as many entities as you want. And if I select 10 entities, this is going to be a consolidated report. Right now, I'm looking at one. We automatically take the top 5 accounts, income, COGS, expenses, and we do some ratio analysis. And we show you, if I'm a franchisee, do I care about this? Yeah, I do, because red's bad and green's good. So we automatically take your last 12 months. We put a low and high range, which the franchisor can change. We put a low and high range wrapped around that. And so in this case, I ran this for the month. And if it's better than that month, it's green. If it's worse than that month, it's red. If it's in range, it's black. So green's good, red's very bad. So, and I don't mind merchandise costs going up if the sales are going to go up. I do mind it going up disproportionately. And then here we have these expenses. And so we also give you so this is the reporting month that you just looked at. This is the prior month, and how am I trending? A green check says the reporting month is better than the prior month. A red X says the reporting month is worse than the prior month. Here's the last 12 months. And this is where it gets really powerful. It's that ecosystem thing. Here's the average of all the other franchisees in the ecosystem. Here's the top 20% of all the other franchisees in the ecosystem. And over here's some analysis. Well, do I want to see the amount or do I want to see ratios? Click the ratios button, and here you are compared to ratio wise. Because like we said, sometimes ratio gives you more. Do I want to look at a percentage of income? Do I want to look at amount? That kind of thing. And there's all kinds of analysis we do over here that show you what your COGS and gross margins look like. In addition to this page, just like Excel, here's your top 10 expenses. Red's bad, green's good. Okay, I got 4 expenses here that are going the wrong direction compared to the prior month and compared to the last, in some of these cases, compared to the last 12 months. Or I can look at year over year income. So this becomes kind of a dynamic dashboard KPI scorecard tool for you that you run it once, it comes up on the screen. If you want to share it, if you're a franchise coach, you know how someone's reporting. And if I'm a multi-unit owner, I can see my entire ecosystem analyzed from a KPI ratio to system average perspective. Brad?
Thank you, Charles. Mac, talk about how you've utilized the KPI scorecards at ASP Franchising and how it's helped you manage your franchise locations.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where the bulk of our time is spent, Brad, with our franchise owners on this report. So at ASP, again, every month, we're trying to do a mid-month touch base call with all of our franchise owners. How's the month going? What's happening out there, etc. So first, we can go ahead and look at their scorecard that we've all set up. We've put the ideal range in, which are the company averages, the highs and the lows, as Charles mentioned there. And say, hey, month to date, this is where you're sitting at. Okay, then we'll have the conversation. How's the rest of the month look? How's the sales pipeline? What's out there done but not billed? Let's try to maybe complete the P&L for the month end. Do we expect some of these metrics to get better, et cetera, et cetera? Have really fruitful conversations with that. Then we get to the end of the month. The books have been closed. The P&L is signed off on, and we can look at prior months KPI scorecard. We can say, hey, you did really well here. You didn't do so great there. Our franchise owner, so that's from the franchisor seat. So let me put my franchisee hat on. what our franchise owners say is they really enjoy the ability to look at their business, their entity, and how it's performing against ecosystem within this scorecard. That's been very powerful for us because it helps the owners, just have some frank conversations about how their business is doing, where it's doing really well, or where there's areas to improve it. But this is probably where we spend the bulk of our time with QVenchi, and where a lot of our coaches spend time reviewing this data and having those conversations to help owners hit budget, grow, be more profitable.
Thank you very much, Mac. And again, we say this a lot: green is good, red we got to talk.
Got
It's
to talk.
simple. The data's right there. You don't have to be a financial genius. You can focus on those areas that you need to focus on, and not get caught up in the noise. All right, well, let's move to section 6, compliance and governance tracking. And Charles is going to talk about one of our newest tools, entities at risk versus high performers. Charles, why don't you explain a little bit about the key capabilities of this, and we'll bring Mac in.
So these are the default categories that we're tracking. You can change them. And what this does, it's one of the landscape view kind of thing. It pulls all the entities in across all categories. It analyzes them, and it color codes the ones that are frankly not performing. If you use the entities at risk, if you want to look at your best performance, you click best performance, and it's going to show you what those guys look like and how well they're doing. If they're yellow, okay, then they have been identified. So in this case, I only have the highlighted entities showing. Let me show all entities. So all entities are in here. So in this case, I'm looking at entities at risk for the fiscal year, and entity 7 has not, entity 94 has not failed this particular other income test, if you will. If it's yellow, it's missed the range. We've said you will come in here and you'll define the categories that you want over here, the categories that you want, and the ranges that you want. And here's kind of here's a little rolled up red and green kind of thing over here that says analysis for all the entities looks like this. So you'll set your ranges up, and this particular report does the analysis and puts them all here. So in this case, I don't want my cost to go as the average of the ecosystem is 34.6%. I want to know everybody. I want to see everybody color coded who's 45%, who's higher than 45%. And that's all of these. Okay. And you'll choose how many. And the reason there's so many is show me all the people who fail of the categories I got that fail 5 of them. Entity 14 is failing 5 of these categories. This happens to be the COGS version. So you'll decide how dense you want this to be. Do I want to see everybody who's failed everything? 1, or do I want to see only the guys that really struggle with, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing? And so this is going to show you, going to do a lot of analysis and show you across the categories that you choose and the ranges of the average and your ideal rate that you're saying, which ones are on target and which ones are off target. Brad?
Okay, thank you. Mac, why don't you talk about how a franchise like ASP or others can use this tool to help find out about failing locations before it's too late?
Absolutely. There's an old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, right, Brad? And so this is what that report's kind of getting at, right? We want, as a franchisor, we want to be able to put our finger on the pulse, check and see what's happening throughout the ecosystem, try to identify as early on as we can any of our franchise owners who might be struggling, who might have some areas to improve, or who just have multiple things happening within their business that traditionally don't stack up well, meaning could really hurt them. Okay. And so this report allows us to be able to look and say, who do we need to go have conversations with? Okay. Who do we need to get on the phone and say, we've seen this data, we've got some concerns. Let's look at what's going on in the operations. Let's try to come up with a plan to get this better, that cost down, etc. And hey, let us help you. Let us help with holding you accountable. Let's have bi-weekly phone calls where we're checking in. And that really allows, again, smoke, there's fire. That really allows the ability to get out in front of problems before they become problems.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Mac. It's great, and the benefit of having this at your fingertips versus having to hire someone, an accountant, to do a spreadsheet, it may take weeks or weeks to get all this data.
Right.
At Cavinci, it's every morning. You just open it up and it's there for you.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. Charles, why don't you unshare? I'm going to take the screen back. And Sydney, why don't you put polling question number 3 up? Ready? Okay. All right. Polling question number 3. Which outcome is your top priority for improving franchise? That'll be an interesting one. Let's see here. Let me grab this here. 4, 5. Share. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Slideshow from the beginning. All righty. Can you guys see my my screen? Charles?
Yes, you're there.
Okay. All right. Let's go here. All right. Now, polling question number 3. That's great. 61% would be the top priority would be increased franchise owner profitability, which is right in line with what you said earlier, Mac, about the coaching franchise owners for performance is the most important of those 3 pillars, which I think you're correct on that, and that's certainly what our data shows as well. So let's move on. We got about 10 minutes left, and we're going to have these 2 final must-haves of a great franchise performance management solution, which include onboard training and support programs and scalability and customization. Okay, so let's talk about training and support programs, and why this matters, and what are the key important points of that. And Mac, I'm going to ask you to take a quick stab at this and talk about in your experience with the training and support team at Cavinci and how they've been for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So ASP, we have been incredibly pleased with the support and the training we got from Cavinci from day one where we went live with the program. And so that is sending emails out to all of your franchise owners saying, hey, please sign up. Even really one step before that, making sure standardized chart of accounts has been put within the system, the scorecard and the data and the names of the data points and the ranges of the data points. Cavinci held our hand and walked us through that. Then they helped us get the entire ecosystem on there. So you really think about pre-launch, great support, launch, great support, and then just every day on from there, and still currently have touch base calls with the support team at Cavinci, just going through different reports, new reports as they come out. The Cavinci support team will call us and say, hey, let's go over this new report and everything. And so we've been very pleased with that here at ASP.
Well, thank you, because we believe that support is as important as the product itself. And just to let everybody know, as an additional item of support, Cavinci provides. We sell QuickBooks and provide customer support for QuickBooks as well. So if you want one throat to choke, if you will, you can get both Cavinci and QuickBooks in one sort of fintech solution. Just thought I'd throw that little plug in there. So the next thing we're going to talk about is scalability and customization. Okay, and why does that matter? We talk about our competitors, boilerplate dashboards, one size fits all reporting, and flashy graphs. It matters that you can both scale this with your organization and you can customize. And I think, Mac, you talked about some customized things you've done in the past. And talk about these 2 issues of scalability and customization and how that's helped ASP franchise and scale.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, Brad. So again, thinking back to about midway when we were looking at the break even and the what if, right? You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a written formula to follow to get somewhere, right? And so Cavinci has allowed us to be able to have data to come up with budgets and roadmaps on how to help all of our franchise owners scale for where they are at that time. Again, that goes back into why you want to be able to customize some of these reports and get that filtered data. Your conversation with a first or second year franchise owner might be entirely different than one with a year 3 or year 4 or year 5 of where they want to go to achieve their goals. Maybe that's annual growth rate. Maybe that's target net profit. Maybe that's at that point where they've been around long enough and they're trying to work less in the business and maybe try to expand that way. That data is critical to scale and get people there. Thinking about it the other way, conversation in one region of the country might be different than another conversation for different factors, different cost factors, particularly. Again, the ability to have that data, to use that to quickly extract that data and spend time in reviewing it really is a big, big lever you pull in to scale a brand, to grow the individual franchisees, which grows the brand at large.
Well, thank you very much. It's so important for us. And Charles, I wasn't going to ask this question, but I'm going to ask this question to you. Tell us why it's so important that Cavinci uses that Excel framework in its to build its reports, and how that makes it so easy for franchises and franchisees to use Cavinci.
Excel is probably the most, I don't know if it's a word or Excel, the most business tool out there. Everybody's got it. Everybody understands it. They know how to type stuff in. They're used to the user interface. So that's not an issue. So there's a lot of learning that doesn't have to happen, number one. Secondly, we're talking about financial data, and financial data is best used in a grid. I don't know what you do with a line chart that's going across 12 lines and you look at it going up or going down. Okay, what do I do with that? So there's a handling of detail and the user experience that everybody understands. And that's really, you can't separate the human factors from the solution.
Yeah, thank you. And that's, you have to be able to use it and customize it. So this is just a couple of the other top franchise brands that trust Cavinci. I think we have some 35,000 business locations syncing on Cavinci, represented by some 600 of our great customers like Mac. So we do this a lot. Polling question number 4, Sydney, and then we'll move into the final part of this webinar. Polling question number 4: how would you describe your current process for collecting and reporting on data across all locations? Okay, which is the fundamental aspect of Cavinci and of any franchise system, is the data. So fully automated or standardized, 26%, partially 52%, mostly manual, 21%. Okay, so I can tell you this has gone up over the years since I've been at Cavinci. When we first got here, this was it was mostly manual, so that's really good. Okay, well, thank you, Charles and Mac, for a great explanation of the topic today. Talking about the near real-time homogeneous data, role-based insights, ranking and benchmarking, predictive analytics, ease of use, and compliance and governance. It's so important. So I think that today we talked about the data. We talked about enabling and monitoring brand-defined standards, compliance. Mac, you talked about automating manual processes, financial insights that everyone understands, which goes back to the green is good, red we got to talk. And all the reports. It's got to be financial insights everyone can understand and act on. And at Cavinci, we like to think we empower brands to create a culture of transparency, collaboration, compliance, profits, and growth, all with a cost-effective solution. So thank you for Charles and Mac for a great presentation today. We just got a couple of slides left. We're not going to have time for a lot of questions today because we kind of went over on a couple sections, which is good because the presentation of Charles and Mac was brilliant. So the next steps here is, if you want to learn more about Cavinci, everyone's going to get a copy of this deck. You click that button, which is live for private demonstration, and it'll connect you with a calendar invite system, and you can pick a time and date to talk with them. or you can go to one of our other live product focused webinars or visit our learning center. So special discounts, very simple. Anyone that signs up in the next 30 days, we got a special pricing package, $5 per location for the first 2 months and $20 off of boarding fees. And it's as simple as that. Help you get onboarded and give you 80 to 90% off for the first couple of months, so you can get going and get full benefit. Polling question number 5, Sydney. It's our last polling question. What best captures your strategic vision for franchise performance and growth? Stabilize and support underperforming locations, accelerate growth, build a system-wide culture of data-driven accountability, achieve operational standardization, or we're still refining. So very interesting. Oh, wow. 78% is the well, it was 78. It's a little bit less now, but it's still above 60%. Is you want to build a system-wide culture of data-driven accountability. Okay. And if you take the first 3, stabilize and support, accelerate growth, and build, you're at 94%. So a very, very important topic for people today. All right. So anyway, we don't have time. We're about a minute over right now. So we'll reach out to everyone if you have questions and answer them. Again, Mac, Charles, thank you so much. Great presentation, full of great stuff. And Sydney, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much. This was awesome. As I mentioned, the recording and slide deck will be emailed out before end of day today. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you with Brad, Charles, or Mac. But I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a wonderful upcoming weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.